títí ọjọ́ àpín o bọ́nà bá jìnnà jìnnà àdópin o àti sáré àdópin aré àmàtìjìyà àdópin ìyá o àti súnsún àti kan ògiri ó má ti gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́sẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o.
ilé òní gbóná kárẹ̀ ní omi kọ́lé ayé òní kóró kálọ̀ nípa ọ̀run o láyé náà la ó wà títà ó fi ṣẹ́gun lójú àwọn ọlọ́tẹ̀ ẹkún akọjá òkùnkùn wájúmọ́lẹ̀ fáwọn ọmọ Yorùbá ọjọ́ ayọ̀ tún lọlé o.
láyé pọ́n bá ó mà di láyé pọ́n bá Yorùbá ò ní dọ̀bálẹ̀ ẹ̀fẹ́ nìkan ó di gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́sẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o.
yé ẹ dìde bí ológun ẹ bá jàgà sílẹ̀ o ẹ rántí àtọmọdọ́mọ kò ní sún wá kò ní rẹ̀ wá tá ó fi ṣẹ́gun tẹni tó dé ó tọ́jú ẹni tìrẹ̀ ń bọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ò ní bí dúró fẹ́ dúró gbọ̀n fẹ́ dúró gbọ̀n fẹ́ dúró gbọ̀n gbọ̀n gbọ̀n.
ọmọ Yorùbá o ọmọ Yorùbá o àsìkò tó láti gba ẹ̀tọ́. Ìkan pàwọ́pọ̀ ìkan mọ̀lé èrò pàwọ́pọ̀ wọn màjíyàn ọmọ Yorùbá ẹ̀jẹ̀ kiri àbí Yorùbá ìbò tẹ ògbó. Ìkan pàwọ́pọ̀ ìkan mọ̀lé èrò pàwọ́pọ̀ wọn màjíyàn ọmọ Yorùbá ẹ̀jẹ̀ kiri àbí Yorùbá ìbò tẹ ògbó. 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 Àtúntò àlè pàtó yí bàbá màgánà ọjọ́ bá yọ ẹ̀yẹ kẹ́yẹ kì í gbé gbogbo ẹ̀yẹ má pa kárin kése ní kẹ́yẹ má lè ké má orí adé àlà níbi ẹ̀ súnmọ́ bí ẹ̀ wá kó tí ìfòyàwó rọ̀. Fẹ́mi lóní kẹ́sí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá nílé lóko lẹ́yìn òdì pé já wálé òyìnlé làá wá torí sùn tí òyìn wálé lódùn rẹ̀ níyàn. Àgbàdo tí ó wálé dúra ẹ̀ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ yangàn ni ẹ wálé o ilé ìbò kan là wá náà. Yorùbá nation yìí náà ní Fẹ́mi yá jìgìrì ká gbàrà wàhálẹ̀ lóko ẹrú. Fẹ́mi ní àfọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ ká gbélé bàbá wa láwùjọ ni torí náání òun wà nílà náání.
tó mo kí onílé mo kálejò mo kí lákùnrin bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo kí lóbìnrin mo kí ọmọdé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo kí àgbàlagbà mo kí lọ́balọ́ba mo kí lóyèlóyè ilẹ̀ Yorùbá mo súnmọ́ba níwọ̀n ẹgbèje mo jìnnà sọ́ba níwọ̀n ẹgbẹ̀fà torí pé adrọ́ba fi lọ́ba ń pa mo kí gbogbo ọba ilẹ̀ Yorùbá pátápátá o ebi ò jẹ́ bá wọn bọ́ba o lágbára Olódùà adé apẹ́ lórí bàtà apẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀ ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀ àdàbẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ ọba ẹ̀sìn ọba sì jókòó pẹ́. Mo wá kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá káàkiri ayé níbi tẹ́ ẹ ti ń wò mí mo kí yín kú déédé àsìkò yìí mo kí yín káàárọ̀ mo kí yín káàsán mo kí yín kálẹ́ gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá tó ń wò mí nílùú Nàìjíríà mo kí yín o ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń wò mí ní gbogbo Áfíríkà káàkiri mo kí yín ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń wò mí káàkiri ìlú òyìnbó Amẹ́ríkà ní London ní Asia ní Canada àti káàkiri ayé mo kí gbogbo yín o kódà títí mẹ́yìn tẹ́ ń wò mí Dubai àti Saudi gbogbo yín náà ni mo kí lápapọ̀ ojú tẹkú fi ń wò mí ò ní fọ́, etí tẹ̀sí fi ń gbọ́ mi ò ní di. Ètò yín ètò kan ètò bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ life òun náà ló mà tún dóde lónìí. A tún ti sọ̀kalẹ̀ gbà sí inú ilé yín o, àti bá yín lálejò. Mo kí yín kú ọjọ́ mẹ́ta kan náà. Wọ́n ní ṣé tí ojú bá rí ẹnu, tí ojú bá ríra wọn, ètè arídẹ̀rẹ̀dẹ̀rẹ̀, ẹ kú ọjọ́ mẹ́ta kankan náà ni à ń kí ẹni tó ràjò. Mo kí yín pé ẹ káàbọ̀, ẹ wá nǹkan fìdílé tàbí kẹ́ ẹ fìdílé nǹkan, kẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ àjọ tukọ̀ ètò tòní. Ẹ wá nǹkan fìdílé o, kẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ àjọ jẹ̀gbádùn tòní. Ẹ bá mi ké sálára, ẹ ké sájèrò, ẹ ké sọ̀rọ̀ gún ọ̀gá, ẹ ké sọ̀rọ̀ gún ilé ìlà wípé ètò bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ TV àtúntìjé jáde o. BGI bí mo ti máa ń pè é, bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ àtúntìdóde lónìí. Ẹ má bínú wípé ẹ ò rí mi wò láti bí ìjọ Jímọ̀ lọ sísàlẹ̀. Ìrìn àjò kan kékeré kan ni mo sáré rìn kó lè dáa náà ni. Kí n tó máa bẹ́tò tòní lọ, ẹ jẹ́ ń ṣíde ní láti orí àwọn lédìké àti àwọn mọ́kànlá tó kù tí wọ́n kó ní ilé olóyè Sunday Igboho. Ṣé mọ̀ pé àwọn 12 ni wọ́n kó tó. Mo máa ní ìròyìn ayọ̀ fún wa ní orí àwọn 12 yìí, nítorí pé bí mo ti ń bá yín sọ̀rọ̀ yìí kò tó wákàtí kan sígbà tá wà yìí tí ilé ẹjọ́ dá 8 sílẹ̀ nínú àwọn 12 tí wọ́n kó ní ilé olóyè Sunday Igboho. Olóyè Sowore àwọn ni wọ́n sáré ànáùnsì ọ̀rọ̀ yìí. In tó wá fa ìtètè rìlíìsì àwọn ẹni yìí láàrin Jímọ̀ sóní ni pé tẹ́ ẹ bá gbàgbé ní ọjọ́ Jímọ̀ tó lọ yìí, ó ní agbẹjọ́rò olóyè Sunday Igboho àti àwọn 12 tí wọ́n kó ní inú ilé rẹ̀ yìí tí a mọ̀ sí agbẹjọ́rò Ọlájẹ́ngbésì, tí ẹ bá gbàgbé ni ó pe àjọ DSS àtijọba wípé òun fún wọn ní 48 hours, wákàtí 48 wípé òun fún wọn o, pé kí wọ́n rìlíìsì gbogbo àwọn 12 tí wọ́n kó, pé àìfi wọ́n sílẹ̀ òun á gbé wọn lọ sí ilé ẹjọ́ fún nǹkan kan tí a máa ń pè ní contempt of court. Ìyẹn ni pé ìsọ wípé orí kóòtù ò pé tàbí kí kóòtù gbẹnu sọ́hùn pé tí wọ́n sọ yẹn kì í ṣe tàwọn. Wọ́n ní tí DSS àti ìjọba àti Malami tó ṣe chief judge tí wọ́n bá kọ̀ láti fi àwọn 12 yìí sílẹ̀, Ọlájẹ́ngbésì sọ pé àwọn ìjọba òun máa tún dá wọn, òun máa gbé wọn padà lọ sí kóòtù láti lọ fi contempt of court láti lọ fi mú wọn. Àmọ́ tó yani lẹ́nu ni pé lónìí wọ́n ní láti ẹ̀tíjọ́ Jímọ̀ yẹn pàápàá làwọn DSS ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní Ọlájẹ́ngbésì ṣe mítìnì o, ni wọ́n ti bá ṣèpàdé. Àmọ́ tó yani lẹ́nu ni pé pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ náà àfilógún àfilọ́gbọ̀n wọ́n fi 8 sílẹ̀ nínú àwọn 12 àti ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlájẹ́ngbésì àtàwọn 8 tí wọ́n fi sílẹ̀. Mò ń padà bọ̀, mo fẹ́ ká lọ wo bí iṣu ṣe kún àti bọ́bẹ̀ ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. Mò ń bọ̀ náà, ẹ̀jẹ̀ amójúdé bẹ́ẹ̀.
We are giving the State Security Service, particularly its Director General, 48 hours and not an hour more, within which to fully obey and comply with the release order of the court in favor of all the 12 detained associates of Sunday Igboho, or face contempt proceedings before a court of competent jurisdiction with full weight and recompense of court brought to bear against his insolence and disregard of court order. Take notice that we will not fail to exhaust all legal and social remedy available to the detainees in enforcing their rights in this matter, setting the tone against the SSS notorious disregard of due process and rule of law. Gentlemen of the press, it has become apparent that the SSS has developed a very terrible psychology of disrespecting the laws of the land, disregard for the constitution, disrespect for the courts, and this is an affront on our judicial system. This is an affront on the democratic system we believe to practice, and this is an affront on the nation itself. In view of this, We have communicated to all social forces, and we are calling on all Nigerians, we are calling on all international communities to understand that we are currently under a government that has been hijacked by spineless entities whose intention is to torture, oppress, suppress Nigerians. And we shall take this no more. These people were unlawfully arrested and detained by DSS. We approached the court, and the court granted them bail under the law. The court granted them bail on conditions, and the conditions have been met. This also has been communicated to the state security service, but because of their arrogance, because of their utter disrespect for our law, they have refused to release all the detainees. The detainees have remained in a very bad situation, under torture on daily basis, sleeping on the floor. We are tired of this. In every democracy, it is very important that the Constitution is supreme. The Constitution is above every citizen. The Constitution is above every government, and our position, DSS must come to recognize in a constitutional democracy. But as I speak to you, the release warrant has been served on the DSS. As at Monday this week, we have perfected all the bail conditions, and my Lord has signed the release warrant. So what we expect, what is SSS still doing from Monday till Friday, that you cannot release these people? And what kind of administrative procedure are they going through that they cannot release them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and this is Friday? This country cannot continue like this. Can you permit some of my colleagues to attend on this?
Please change the mic. Move the mic.
Look, our demand is very simple. That the DSS must obey the court order, and they must release these people. Because in the eyes of the court, having gotten their release order by the court, they are now a free man in the eyes of the court, who is entitled to the benefits of constitution, particularly with respect to their liberty. And that cannot be joked with. The DSS has a responsibility to respect the rule of law and the order of the court, and that must be protected by all. Whether there is an appeal or not, there is a substantive order of the court, which is bound to be obeyed. So until DSS actually comply with the order of the court, as a matter of fact, if you are in a breach of order of the court, you have no right of audience before that court.
We are here to inform Nigerians that by the special grace of God, that the DSS may be a candidate for Kuje by next week if these people are not released. And we are not joking about this matter, because the laws are very clear. We are even willing to test the law. We understand that we've been hearing information from some people that we will have problems serving the DSS, and we've mapped out our plan. But we will also appeal to the SSS in the interest of justice, in the interest of liberty of these people who have been unjustly detained in their facility, and in their own interest too, to release these people peacefully so that they can reunite with their families. These people are innocent, these people have no crime on their head, these people have no criminal record, and the SSS also has not been able to even mention a single offense against them in court. And that is why we are demanding for their liberty, that's why we are demanding for their freedom. And it is also important to inform us that this affects every citizen of Nigeria. Today it is 12/8 of Sunday Igboho. Tomorrow it can be another person. It was in news yesterday that there was attempt to trample on one of the very important TV stations in this country, because we have a government that is deliberately angry about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and these are things that we are worried about. And that is the reason we call on Nigerians, we call on the entire world to ensure that this matter is not taken lightly. And be that as it may, the question and the issue before us right now is that there is a subsisting court order. I mean, if there's a subsisting court order, you cannot take that away, regardless of the fact that the DSS is claiming that some people have instituted a matter. We are not aware of that matter. But what we are saying is that there is a subsisting court order, and that order is an order of release, and DSS is bound to respect it, and that is our demand.
Kagbega, kagbega, kagbega fayere, ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira, ní ẹ jẹ́ ká máa lépa, ìtẹ̀síwájú àtọ̀ ire, àtòhun tó dára.
káàbọ̀ padà. Àwọn tí wọ́n fi sílẹ̀ lẹ́ ń wò yìí àti ọ̀rọ̀ tí Ọlájẹngbèsì sọ tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ síwájú ní ọjọ́ Jímọ̀ méjèèjì ẹ wá ríbi tí ọ̀rọ̀ ti wá ṣe rẹ́gírẹ́gí mọ́ra wọn tó. Èyí tó kàn ya èmi lẹ́nu ni wípé kí làwọn ẹni yìí ṣe gan-an, kí ló le tó yìí gan-an, kí ló dé. Àwọn Fúlàní agbénipa, àwọn Boko Haram apanirun, àwọn ISWAP abatẹnijẹ́, gbogbo àwọn ẹni yìí ni wọ́n rìn freely láàrin ìlú. Ìjọba ò máa bójú wò wọ́n, kódà Boko Haram tún lóhun ò ṣe mọ́, ìjọba fún ó dáríjì wọ́n ni, wọ́n tún fún wọn láṣọ, wọ́n fún wọn lóúnjẹ. Ṣé ká wá sọ pé ajámọmọ tiẹ̀ fún lọ́mú, ó mọ́tọ́ mẹ́kùrù, ó mọ̀ kí mọ́lẹ̀ ní ká pè ní àbíbò ní ká kó ti jẹ́ gan. Torí lè yóò yé mi o. Àwọn méjèèjìlá tí wọ́n mú yìí ẹ ṣàrànjú mọ́ mẹ́rin nínú wọn dandan wípé àwọn mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin yìí ẹ bá wọn lẹ́jọ́, ẹ fẹ́ bá wọn kanlẹ̀. Ó ti ń lọ bí oṣù méjì nísìn tí wọ́n ti dá wọn dúró. Àkọ́kọ́ náà tí wọ́n ń pè ní fundamental human rights, ẹ̀tọ́ ọmọnìyàn lábẹ́ òfin, ẹ kọ́kọ́ fojú ẹ̀ gbolẹ̀ fáwọn méjèèjìlá. Torí pé kò sí nínú òfin Nàìjíríà wípé kẹ́ ẹ dá ẹni tẹ́ ẹ fura sí suspect, kẹ́ ẹ dá dúró kọjá 48 hours, wákàtí 48 ló gbọ́dọ̀ lò ní àhámọ́ kó tó di pé gbé lọ kóòtù. DSS kọ̀ wọ́n gbé wọn lọ kóòtù, àfìgbà t'Ọlájẹngbèsì tó gbé DSS lọ kóòtù ni wọ́n tó rójú ráyè sọ pé dá o kí ilé ẹjọ́ fi àwọn ènìyàn sílẹ̀. Pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ náà láti ọjọ́ kẹta oṣù tá wà yìí, oṣù kẹjọ August yìí, ní ilé ẹjọ́ ti pàṣẹ wípé kí wọ́n lọ dá àwọn méjèèjìlá sílẹ̀, tí ilé ẹjọ́ máa kọ̀, tí DSS máa kọ̀, tí wọ́n fi wọ́n sílẹ̀ o. Àmọ́ lónìí lágbára Ọlọ́run 8 nínú wọn ó ti gba ìtúsílẹ̀. Fídíò gbogbo wọn náà ni ẹ wò yẹn. Wọ́n ti tú wọn sílẹ̀ ní kìí ṣe pé wọ́n tó dá wọn padà sí àhámọ́ àwọn DSS. Ṣùgbọ́n tó fẹ́ tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí àwọn lédìké a máa tó gbọ́. Kílẹ̀ tó bá máa fi tó wò yí ọ̀la lágbára Ọlọ́run. Èmi kí ní ìyá fetí yín tó a gbọ́ kí ni tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí àwọn mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin tó kù. Ọlájẹngbèsì ti gbà fún wọn ni wípé kí wọ́n máa kó àwọn mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin lọ ni, àbó tó sì ń bá wọn pò ó, a gbọ́ láìpẹ́. Tó lẹ́yìn eléyìí mo láyọ̀ láti tún sọ fún wa pé ìjọba àpapọ̀ àti Màlàmí wọ́n máa ti tún fìdí rẹmi lẹ́lẹ́ẹ̀kejì ní kóòtù. Lórí ọ̀rọ̀ olóyè Sunday Igboho, ṣé àgbàgbé wípé èní ni wọ́n fi ìgbẹ́jọ́ sí, tí wọ́n sì sọ pé kí àwọn dá ìjọba lọ́wọ́ kọ́ o. Àkọ́kọ́ náà àkáǹtì olóyè Igboho pé wọn ò gbọ́dọ̀ fi ọwọ́ kàn án. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì, olóyè Igboho fúnra rẹ̀ wọn ò gbọ́dọ̀ lé kàbàkàbà kiri torí pé kì í ṣe ẹlẹ́wọ̀n, kì í sì ṣe ọ̀daràn. Ilé ẹjọ́ ló sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ nìbàdàn tẹ́ bá gbàgbé. Wọ́n sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ̀ẹ̀kẹta tí wọ́n máa wá dájọ́ yẹn rèé, torí pé wọ́n ń sún gbẹ́jọ́ láìpẹ́ yìí, wọ́n tún wá sún sẹ́ni. Wọ́n wá sọ pé látijọ́ tí wọ́n ti sún gbẹ́jọ́ yẹn títí wá di èní táwọn tó máa fi sọ̀rọ̀ míì, ìjọba ò gbọ́dọ̀ fọwọ́ kan àkáǹtì àpò ìṣúná owó olóyè Igboho. Bákan náà ni wípé wọ́n ní pé gbogbo àwọn ọmọlẹ́yìn olóyè Igboho pápátá àwọn dá ìjọba tàbí DSS lọ́wọ́ kọ́, wọn ò gbọ́dọ̀ fi ọwọ́ kàn wọ́n, wọn ò gbọ́dọ̀ lé wọn tààtà mọ́. Olóyè fúnra rẹ̀ kí wọ́n yọ orúkọ ẹ̀ kó nú ẹni táwọn fẹ́ gbé wanted list, wọ́n ní kí wọ́n yọ kúrò, ṣẹ́ gbàgbé. Nígbà tó tún dè ní tí wọ́n sún ẹjọ́ ìgbẹ́jọ́ dà, wọ́n mà tún lọ sílé ìgbẹ́jọ́. Bákan náà lọmọ ṣe ṣorí fọlóyè Igboho. Ilé ẹjọ́ sọ pé kò ní ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ kankan lọ́rùn o, kò sí ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ kankan táwọn lè rí, kò sẹ́sùn kankan táwọn lè rí kà sí lọ́rùn. Nítorí ìdí èyí kí wọ́n fi olóyè Igboho sílẹ̀ o, kí ilé ẹjọ́ kí ó má bàa rojọ́ kankan. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n ka ìròyìn náà fún wa ká gbọ́. Breaking again, Sunday Igboho defeats Attorney General of the Federation, Nigeria government in court. Activist Sunday Adeyemo alias Sunday Igboho has yet again emerged victorious against the Nigerian authorities in court. The Nigerian government, Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has lost another application seeking vacations of order by the Oyo State High Court, restraining the government from arresting, intimidating, harassing Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Adeyemo, also known as Sunday Igboho. The court had also blocked the government from freezing the bank account of Igboho Politics Nigerian land that Justice Akintola on August 4 granted an order of interim injunction restraining the Department of the State Services DSS and other security agencies from arresting the activist. Counsel to the Attorney General of the Federation, Enoch Simeon, had appealed to the court to vacate an earlier judgment restraining the government from freezing Igboho's account. However, in a recent ruling, Justice Akintola said the application by the AGF is against fair hearing and the fundamental human rights of the applicant because it has to do with his free movement. Akintola refused to grant these applications and therefore adjourned the case till September 7 for hearing. Òun náà la gbọ́ yìí o wípé wọ́n ní Anthony General ìyẹn ni pé olórí àwọn amòfin nílùú Nàìjíríà wọ́n ló mà tún gbé olóyè Igboho lọ sí ilé ẹjọ́ wípé ìdájọ́ tẹ́lẹ̀ tí ilé ẹjọ́ ti gbé kalẹ̀ lórí pé káwọn má fi ọwọ́ kan àpò ìṣúná olórí Sunday Igboho wípé kí ilé ẹjọ́ gbẹ́sẹ̀ kúrò ńbẹ̀ o kí wọ́n sọ pé àwọn ò dájọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́ àbí ìfinisílẹ̀ ìmáfìyàjẹni ìmágbéni àbí ìmádùnkokò mọ́ni tí wọ́n sọ tí ilé ẹjọ́ sọ pé DSS kí wọ́n káwọ́ ńbẹ̀ kúrò fún olóyè Igboho àtàwọn ọmọlẹ́yìn ẹ̀ wọ́n ní pé ẹjọ́ báyìí ò tẹ́ àwọn lọ́rùn wípé kí ilé ẹjọ́ gbẹ́sẹ̀ kúrò lórí ẹjọ́ yìí kí wọ́n láwọn sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́ àmọ́ tó yani lẹ́nu lẹ́nu ni wípé àwọn agbẹjọ́rò Abubakar Malami ni wọ́n gbé ẹjọ́ yìí lọ sí kóòtù àmọ́ agbẹjọ́rò Sunday Igboho wọ́n máa yọjú sí ilé ẹjọ́ lónìí níbi tí adájọ́ tí orúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́ Enoch Simeon tí orúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́ Akintola ó ti dájọ́ wípé irú ẹ̀sùn bẹ́ẹ̀ o kò ní ẹsẹ̀ ńlẹ̀ rárá nítorí pé àwọn ò lè ṣe kí àwọn gbẹ́sẹ̀ kúrò lórí ẹjọ́ yìí wípé ẹjọ́ yìí ó sì dúró ní gbangba torí pé olóyè Sunday Igboho wọn ò gbọ́dọ̀ fọwọ́ kan àpò ìṣúná ẹ̀ o bákan náà ni pé òun àtàwọn ọmọlẹ́yìn ẹ̀ kí wọ́n fi wọ́n sílẹ̀ jẹ́jẹ́ kí wọ́n jẹ́ kí wọ́n máa lògbèsí ayé wọn ìmádùnkokò mọ́ wọn ó jẹ́ ìfìyàjẹni àti ẹ̀tọ́ ọmọnìyàn ìfiwọ́lẹ̀ fún olóyè Sunday Igboho ohun tí a kà lóyìnbó òun náà la sọ ní kékeré ní èdè Yorùbá yìí ẹ rí pé lọ́tún lósì oríire náà ló jẹ́ tó ọ̀rọ̀ kan ṣẹlẹ̀ lónìí tó yà mí lẹ́nu lélẹ́yìí tó jẹ́ pé àwọn èèyàn wọ́n ti ń wá sí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá láti ilẹ̀ Àrẹwá àwọn gómìnà àti àwọn kọ̀ọ̀kan tí wọ́n súnmọ́ ọ̀gágun tó ti fẹ̀yìntì ààrẹ Buhari tí wọ́n ti súnmọ́ wọ́n wá sílẹ̀ Yorùbá láti wá máa bẹ àwọn àgbààgbà Yorùbá láti máa fà wọ́n sọ́dọ̀ wọn wípé kí wọ́n gbójú kúrò nínú Yorùbá nation kí wọ́n máa ṣe tàwọn èyí tó yà mí lẹ́nu ni pé àwọn kọ̀ọ̀kan gbọ́ ní tí wọ́n sọ àwọn kọ̀ọ̀kan tẹ́tí gbọ́ wọn àmọ́ o olóyè Rashidi Adéwọ̀lú Ládọjà ó máa fà kékọ́rí ó máa fàríyà ó fárígá gidi ó ní kí lẹ ti pè wá ná kí lẹ rò pé abẹ́ rò páwa Yorùbá sì gọ̀ ni ní tèmi o èmi ò gọ̀ o mi ò bá yín lọ́wọ́ sí mi ò sì ní bá yín lọ́wọ́ sí láéláé olóyè Alhaji Adéwọ̀lú Rashidi Ládọjà tó wọ́n máa sọ̀rọ̀ o mo sì fẹ́ kí n ka ohun tí wọ́n sọ fún wa ní èdè Ìgbò àmọ́ sẹ́ńtósò òyìnbó lé àná ẹ̀ òun náà ní òkùnkùn tú sí Yorùbá. Buhari associates meet Yoruba leaders to pacify Southwest. There is growing disaffection towards the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari from the Southwest region. The treatment of Yoruba activist Sunday Adeyemo, also known as Sunday Igboho, who is also known as Sunday Igboho, is said to have triggered the dissatisfaction. To address the issue, Associates of President Muhammadu Buhari have been meeting with the leaders to pacify them at Ibadan. A report by the Tribune newspaper indicates that some associates of President Muhammadu Buhari have begun what has been interpreted as a deft move to placate the Yoruba people through notable leaders in Southwest. According to the report, The move has the blessing of President Muhammadu Buhari, and it's aimed at addressing the growing disaffections of the president's administrations from the southwest. The president men and their secret meetings. Those embarking on the missions are Governors Maimala Buni of Yobe, who is also the national caretaker chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, Abubakar Badaru of Jigawa, and Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State. In the last 3 weeks, they have met with some notable Yoruba leaders and men of influence, including the Afenifere leaders, Pa Ayo Adebanjo, his predecessors, Pa Ruben Fashoranti, Chief Olufalaye, and former Oyo State Governor, Senator Abdulrashid Adewale Rashidi Ladoja. Others are the former leader of the National Democratic Coalition, Chief Ayo Okpadokun, Secretary General of the Yoruba Council of Elders, Dr. Kunle Olajide, and the Ààrẹ Mùsùlùmí of Yoruba Land, Edo and Delta State, Alhaji Daudu Akinola. After the close meeting, which were held in Akure, Ibadan, Lagos, and Abeokuta, neither the visitors nor hosts spoke to the press about what was discussed. But on Ladoja's case, how Ladoja lashed federal government in Ibadan. One of the sources at one of the meetings in Ibadan with Senator Rashidi Ladoja said, Ladoja was very angry about goings on in the country. He chastised the federal government for obvious abuse of power in clamping down on the likes of Sunday Igboho. He mentioned the ultimatum issued by the Emir of Mubi to Bororo Fulani to vacate his emirate, and asked if that was different from what Igboho told the murderous Fulani in Ibarapa area of Oyo State. In a related development, Delta State Governor Senator Ifeanyi Okowa on Wednesday, August 25 said bad governance, ethno-religious conflict, and lack of faith in the electoral process were major causes of disunity in Nigeria. Tó bí tún ṣe kún bọ́bẹ̀ ṣe pa bọ́bẹ̀ ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ òun náà lẹ́gbọ́n tí a kà fúnra wa yìí. Àwọn ẹni yìí ń káàkiri láti lọ́ọ́ bẹ àwọn abẹnugan ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, àwọn lọ́balọ́ba àti lóyè ilẹ̀ Yorùbá wípé o kí wọ́n mójú kúrò níbi àṣìṣe olóyè ọ̀gágun tó ti fẹ̀yìntì Muhammadu Buhari tó ṣe sí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Gbogbo wọn ni wọ́n jọ panupọ̀, ni wọ́n jọ tilẹ̀kùn mọ́rí, wọ́n kọ̀ wọn bá àwọn akọ̀ròyìn sọ̀rọ̀ nítorí pé kò sẹ́ni tó mọ̀ ń tán sọ. Àmọ́ o olóyè Ládọjà òun faná sójú, ó sì faraya náyànnàyàn. Ládọjà sọ pé inú bí òun gidi gan o lórí gbogbo tó ń lọ nínú ìlú Nàìjíríà yìí. Ó sì tún sọ pé mo fẹ́ bi yín léèrè ìjọba àpapọ̀, kí nìdí náà tẹ́ fi ń ṣe agbára lò pàápàá jùlọ lé àwa Yorùbá lórí nípa gbígbé tí ẹgbẹ́ olóyè Sunday Igboho ti sátìmọ́lé. Ó ní pé ẹ jẹ́ kí n sọ fún yín o, ọba ilẹ̀ Mubi tí ń ṣe ọba Fúlàní tó fún Bòròrò ní gbèdéke iye ọjọ́ kan wípé kí wọ́n fi kúrò nílùú òun. Ó ní ṣé ń tọ́ba yìí sọ ṣó yàtọ̀ sí nǹkan tó lóyè Sunday Igboho sọ fún àwọn Fúlàní agbénipa àti apanirun ni, tó fi wá jẹ́ pé léyìí gan ló wá mú yín sọ pé torí pé lóyè Sunday Igboho sọ pé ní Ìbàràpá o gbogbo àwọn Fúlàní apanirun tó wà ń bẹ̀ pátá gbogbo wọn ni kí wọ́n fi ewé bora o, kí wọ́n fi ewé ṣánko, kí wọ́n sì kúrò nílùú Ìbàràpá. Ìdí rèé o tẹ́ fi lọ gbé olóyè Sunday Igboho. Kó sọ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ, ó ní kí wá níyàtọ̀ nínú nǹkan tí ọba Mubi yìí sọ àti nǹkan tó lóyè Sunday Igboho sọ. Tẹ́ wá sọ di apààyàn, tẹ́ sọ di dàlúrú, tẹ́ torí ẹ̀ tẹ́ ń wá kiri, tẹ́ sọ pé wanted ni. Ó ní kí wọ́n kóra wọn kó wájú òun o, torí pé lóhun tòun ní òun ti Rashidi Ládọjà, òun ò ṣetán o láti bá ìjọba panirun, òun ò ṣetán láti bá wọn lọ tí wọ́n ń pè ní dialogue láti fokolokun pẹ̀lú wọn. Tó olóyè Rashidi Ládọjà ṣe Yorùbá bọ̀ wọ́n ní ọmọ ẹni kì í ṣèdí bẹ̀bẹ̀rẹ̀ ká filẹ̀kẹ̀ sídi ọmọ ẹlòmíràn, níbi téèyàn ó sì ti mọmọ ọkọ òun náà ni látara tó bá ń sọ jáde. Olóyè Rashidi Ládọjà ní orúkọ ọmọ gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pátá mo gbé òṣùbà fún yín. Ẹ ṣeun, ẹ kú fọmọnìyàn ṣe. Ara ń tà ń sọ rèé. Díẹ̀díẹ̀ ọmọ kó máa fojú hàn nù ọmọ àlè. Ọmọ ọkọ Yorùbá lẹ́yìn, ẹ ti fi hàn wá wípé tí Yorùbá lẹ̀ ń ṣe. Èmi náà retí ń tó kù táwọn àgbààgbà ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ó sọ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí. Ìkan nínú àwọn àgbààgbà ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, olóyè Wọlé Ṣóyínká, òun náà sọ̀rọ̀ ilẹ̀kùn lórí ọ̀rọ̀ bí wọ́n ṣe gbólóyè Ìgbòho. Ó pè ìjọba Benin, ó sì tún pè ìjọba Nàìjíríà. Ó kìlọ̀ fún wọn, ó sì bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ wọn. Ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ wo kí ni olóyè Wọlé Ṣóyínká, pòfẹ́sọ̀ ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n ọ̀mọ̀wé olóyè Wọlé Ṣóyínká, kí ni wọ́n sọ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Ìgbòho. Mò ń bọ̀ náà.
The first is the issue of the government role in one of the agitators, towards one of the agitators, who is now both against Fulani tyranny, Fulani herdsmen, criminal conduct, and only, by the way, also agitating for sectional national sovereignty. I'm talking about Igboho, who threw out a criminal Fulani herdsman who'd been terrorizing his neighborhood, because that's his real crime. I refuse to accept that Igboho is being chased because he peacefully demonstrated his position vis-a-vis the destiny of this nation, which is a fundamental human right of anybody. So somebody calls for secession, calls for a separate state. I don't consider that, and nowhere is that to be declared a criminal act. That's one's vision of one's own society, full stop. As long as it's done peacefully, collectively, within the law, you do not now criminalize that action. And in addition, commit criminal acts against such an individual, which is what the government, the security services did by raiding Igboho's home in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., killing 2 of his own people, then claiming, without a warrant or anything, then claiming they found weapons in his home. Now, who's going to believe that cock and bull story? And this is an appeal actually to the Republic of Benin, to the government of the Republic of Benin. Why are you keeping this victim in your prisons? I mean, what's going on? What crime did he commit against your state that you are holding him in prison instead of just letting him continue his journey? Igboho has not committed any crime against any known law in this nation. And so to ask for his repatriation is just adding insult to injury. You invaded the man's house, destroyed his property, chased him into the wilderness, and then you pursue him next door. So we're asking the government of the Republic of Benin to release this young man and let him go about his business, which was interrupted unjustly. Unjustly. Please rectify this error. Don't compound it any further by holding Sunday Igboho in prison one day longer. Now, I brought out a novel recently, which all of you are aware of, Chronicles from the Land of the Happiest People in the World, which of course was intended to be an ironic title, because whoever conducted that Gallup poll or whatever it was and decided that Nigeria was among the top 5 happiest people in the world, which is where the inspiration for the title of that work came. I think that person really should just go back to School of Statistics, wherever he or she came from. But I've been wondering if that title shouldn't be taken literally. I've been wondering ever since. A wedding took place recently here, I thought the nation was in mourning, you see. In mourning because of the killings, daily killings which now have become a feature of existence, destruction of farms, but most importantly, the kidnapping of our children, whom we send to school. School pupils. That's become the new normal of this society. And I wonder whether, as a people who consider ourselves responsible human beings, we really are going to sit down and look on while this becomes the norm. I'm coming back to that theme in a moment, vis-a-vis the children, those whom we're supposed to protect. Right now, I want to talk about happiness. So there it is. You had this unbelievable carnival of a wedding in Kano, that part of the area. It was Kano, wasn't it? Yes, it was Kano. Doesn't matter where it is. The president's daughter was getting married. Was it his son or his marriage or what? Son. Oh, son. No, yeah, son. All I know is that the president was performing a wedding ceremony. Not in Aso Rock, he didn't go there. But I think the journalists, you know how many private jets were there. All I saw, didn't matter the details, was that a carnival was going on in the name of the president of this nation, whose child was getting married, while other youths, other people were being kidnapped. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying presidents' children shouldn't get married. On the contrary. In fact, I not only want them to get married, I want them blessed with children, prosperity, etc., etc. I also want, however, I would like to see that they are not burdened with a kind of surrogate, vicarious sense of irresponsibility. They deserve to start life without any burden of social guilt. So, in some way, I'm also on the president's side. But you see, I had made the mistake of thinking that it would have been sufficient to give these children money and say, please go and go to Dubai, have a good time, have your honeymoon there, splurge as much as you want. Right now, as a leader of this nation, with a heavy burden of unacquitted responsibility, which involves the future of a younger generation, I should set an example of some kind of modesty, sensibility, etc., etc. In short, we should not have seen the kind of carnival that took place here and in that part of the nation, especially at this particular time. This is not what I understand as leadership. And perhaps it is the sound, is the noise of the wedding bells, the noise that has contributed to the deafening, to the, shall we say, the impairment, the possible impairment of the hearing of the president of this nation. Because he doesn't seem to hear, he doesn't seem to hear things. Virtually the whole nation is screaming, we do not want any open cattle grazing. Whether they go by the name of cattle routes or reserves, grazing reserves, right round the entire nation, we've had opinions surmounting the antiquated modes of cattle rearing. Even the all-powerful, untouchable Mieti Allah, patrons of the murderers, Fulani herdsmen, even they have gone on record saying that grazing, ranching is it. Ranching is what we want. And when we think all that argument, all that discussion, all that debate has been settled in in rational terms. Along comes a new version, rather like Decree 4. Along comes a new version of Ruga, with the president insisting on sending his agents out to go and map out the old grazing routes and recover the old grazing reserves, when governors and peoples and experts, agronomists, business people are saying, this is a business and it should be conducted in this particular way. So what is this president obsessing? Why is he obsessing about something which is being rejected right, left, and center? The obsession is on such a level that even people who consider themselves rational, like myself, begin to wonder whether this is really all about cattle, whether perhaps there is some other kind of agenda that we don't know about. Because as we say in Yoruba, it's like there's something, a kind of delusion, a kind of mental delusion about this thing. What is it? The governors have not said they don't want cattle here in their domain. All they're saying is, it's a business. If you want to rear cattle, whether you're a Fulani or you are an Igboho or you are Yoruba, just contact us and we'll deal with it as business. We'll allocate you land to ranch where the cattle are controlled and the farmers are happy and the herdsmen are happy. But you cannot let loose cattle any longer in our territory. This is what the governors are saying, and they're speaking our language. They're speaking the language, they're articulating the opinion, the desire of the people who elected them to look after their interests. And yet, again and again, this president comes out and says he's sending people out. Is this to stir up trouble or what? So when the president agents come to, let us say, Edo State, and the Edo State government says, who are you? What do you represent? What are you doing here? Please get out. And there's a clash. So now there's a clash. We can then escalate the ripple effect in all kinds of directions. Is that how a president is supposed to behave? To actually act in a way which offers violence as a consequence of your form of action? Is that really governance? Is that leadership? Listen, let me read you something which came to me, just to show you how, no, it's okay. I'll summarize it. I can send it to you, to your boxes later on if you like. Anyway, so I got this, this message saying, sir, what do you think about this? They say President Buhari has offered to take 1 million Afghan refugees. I immediately sent, before I'm charged with spreading fake news, I immediately sent a note back, I don't believe it. I said, listen, this is fake news. I merely cite it to demonstrate, to illustrate what happens when people sit down and see a cause of irrational action being promoted, being propagated again, and again. They begin to wonder what is behind this. I mean, the Afghan thing is out of the, please, everybody just forget. In any case, the Ruga doctrine didn't start just when Afghanistan fell. So it was an absurd, totally absurd piece of propaganda. But this is what happens. Conspiracy theory abounds when leadership is seen to be pursuing a cause not in the interest of the people, against their declared wishes, their stance, and taking action which can possibly lead to conflagration within the country. Just when we're saying there's so much violence, the president says, I'm sending my agents to go and recover property which doesn't belong to me. Very weird, very weird. So let's move on from from this obsession, which I insist is a no-go area, just as the governors have stated, and move on to the issue of violence. But violence of a very special kind. Some people call it insecurity, violence, whatever it is anyway. We're living in a permanent state of violence. But there's a difference with this particular kind of violence, and it's a difference which makes the failure of governance in this nation a responsibility of the international community. All right, so up till now we've been saying, ask for help. This thing is beyond you. The failures started a long time ago, so nobody is saying it's you who started it. But of course, your incompetence, your failure has also escalated it, like every other leader we've had. We're saying, ask for international help. We're now saying, however, that it's been proved beyond your capacity, your capability. But in addition, it's an issue which can legally be taken as an international responsibility. And this is why I wish to commend the association, the Human Rights Association, which brought out this book. Because it states, it deals not merely, in great detail with the victims of violence, where, when, including names, family, etc., tabulate villages, the hectares which are being lost, the arbitrary disposal of humanity. But it goes further and says and proves that this, what is happening now, really is not a question of begging. It has become an international responsibility. In other words, that the international community is really obliged to take action since there is failure on the part of the governance to fulfill its obligations under United Nations Charter, to which it's a signatory. In this case, the issue of genocide. In other words, what this book says, and I agree with it, is that we have been living here side by side with actions which are unambiguously genocide. Let me read one or two of the protocols here which qualify for some of these events to be called genocide. Among the conditions, the actions, the activities which qualify for genocide, to be called genocide, 1, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, all right? C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. But finally, of the several there, the part which concerns me most, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. I wish to repeat that. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. So, where are the Chibok girls? Where are the school pupils of the Ahmadiyya school? Where are the school pupils of the Bethel school? I think that's the Bethel, where some of them were released recently. So what's happening? How do we describe the targeting of children who are now being taken and transferred? They are a group, a recognized group. There are charters for the protection of children, UN charters, responsibilities which we all have towards children as a group. I was in the United Nations just a year ago to join in the anniversary of the signing of the protocols of the rights of children under the United Nations. And so, from time to time, yes, we mark these anniversaries, but what do we do when these conditions, these articles are violated repeatedly, and all we do is celebrate weddings? It means that that nation has failed to live up to its responsibilities under United Nations laws. And I really commend this organization for bringing this fact to attention. It's something we've been working on, in fact, in different ways, talking directly to governments, pleading with them to bring the issue of child kidnapping and forced repatriation to the attention of the United Nations in the next General Assembly. But the protocols are there for any nation to champion the cause of these children and thereby enforce on this government international intervention in whatever form. The protocols are there. In addition, however, I wish to appeal to the compilers to also include, maybe as an addendum, the issue of slavery, of enslavement. Now, numerous, not just the bilateral, unilateral, but universal protocols against the slave trade and slavery itself. Abolitions here, abolitions there, gunboats to enforce the end of slavery, civil war in the United States to enforce the abolition of slavery, to abolish the very notion of slavery. In this country, however, the slave trade, a very brisk and clearly successful slave trade, is going on, with the markets all over the place, springing up all over the place. But in particular, the targets, the favored slaves, are children, school pupils. They are the new slaves. When those kids are taken, their parents, and sometimes the state, pays a ransom for them. Oh, well, what's the difference? It's even easier and more lucrative than taking slaves across the Atlantic or taking them through the Sahara, where several of them may die on the way or succumb to raiders, rival slavers. No, right now, just take them, simple, a few kilometers into Sambisa forest or whichever other forest, sometimes even into villages where this trade is supported by some of the locals themselves. And so they say, come and buy your children back. We have them. And then when the price is not paid immediately, they even go on air and send notes to say, well, you didn't come and buy in time, so now the price has gone up. Very soon, Nigeria will be quoting slaves on the stock market. That's the next step. I don't see any difference between slavery and what is happening to school pupils today. And so, we're calling on the United Nations to intervene and stop this slave trade, to live up to its noble intentions, its declarations, some of them a couple of centuries old, or nearly a couple of centuries old, rescue these children and put a stop. And if Nigeria continues to stand on her sovereignty, I think the protocols, I leave this to the experts, I'm speaking as a layman, what I know. I think the protocols of the United Nations enable that organization to do in Namibia. In other words, to declare sections of this country protectorate under the United Nations. Why not? If the government has failed to protect its own people, the government has failed to fulfill its responsibilities under protocols to which it is signatory. The United Nations has a right and a responsibility to declare those zones United Nations protectorates. What I'm saying publicly is what we've been discussing with some foreign heads of state, because we want this situation tabled. We do not want what we're undergoing now to become the new normal peculiar to the Nigerian nation. We want intervention at this stage. And so I wish to exhort these very meticulous human rights people to also insist on the slavery aspect, emphasize it as additional reason for UN intervention. I think I will stop there and take one or two.
Ẹ káàbọ̀ padà. Olóyè Wọlé Ṣóyínká ò lè gbọ́ àwọn nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ lẹ́nu yìí. Bí ó ti máa rí díẹ̀díẹ̀ rèé. Torí pé ẹ̀kọ́ tí ń fojú múmu hàn ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Tẹ́lẹ̀ ni Yorùbá gọ̀ tó fọwọ́ lẹ́rán. Àmọ́ nísìnyí ó dá mi lójú wípé àwọn àgbààgbà ilẹ̀ Yorùbá náà ti ń fojú rí ní tó yẹ kán fojú rí. Wọ́n sì ti ń rí bó ṣe yẹ kó rí, àmọ́ o èmi kàn fẹ́ fàsìkò yìí pé ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà Yorùbá ni, torí pọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn náà la rí níbi ìgbéyàwó ọmọ olóyè Muhammadu Buhari. Lóòótọ́ o, a ò lè bá yín wípé kẹ́ ẹ má lọ, nítorí pàìlọ yín ó lè tún fa kí wọ́n tún fẹ́ gbẹ̀yìn náà pa fúnra ara yín, wọ́n á lẹ̀ takò jọba. Àmọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ṣe ń rìn mọ́ wọn, ẹ máa padà bójú wẹ̀yìn kẹ́ ẹ máa wo ọmọ Yorùbá, kẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ pé inú ìbànújẹ́ àti payín kékeré lọmọ Yorùbá wà lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí. Àwọn Fúlàní ti sọ pé dandan ilẹ̀ wa ilẹ̀ àwọn ni, wọ́n làwọn ní Nàìjíríà, àwọn fẹ́ gbalẹ̀ Nàìjíríà lọ́wọ́ wa. Òun ló fà á tó lóyè Sunday Igboho tó kọ̀ tí ò lè wá Nàìjíríà lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí. Ṣùgbọ́n tẹ̀mí mọ̀ ni pé kò sí bọ́mọ ṣe bí ọ̀bọ ṣe sorí o tí náà kí o ṣe. In tó bá ti mú jọba fi orí jìn àwọn Boko Haram tí wọ́n ti pa ìmọ̀ye ọmọ Yorùbá tí gbogbo ayé dẹ̀ rí. Kí ni Igboho wá ṣe? Ẹni mélòó ní Igboho pa Nàìjíríà tàbí níbikíbi? A ò gbọ́ rí nínú ìtàn ká rò pé èèyàn kan lẹ̀ ká gbọ́ pé Igboho ló pa tàbá àwọn ọmọ lẹ́yìn ẹ̀. Àwọn tí wọ́n pa àwọn èèyàn tí gbogbo ayé fojú rí, òun là ń rí bíjọba ṣe ń ṣe wọn. Kódà wọ́n tún fún wọn lówó, wọ́n tún fún wọn láṣọ. Tó Ọlọ́run ó ṣàánú wa. Ǹjẹ́ jẹ́ mọ̀ pé lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí àwọn tí olóyè Fẹ́mi Fálànà tí a mọ̀ sí SAN wọ́n tako Chief Judge lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ àti ìjọba káàkiri. SAN tako Malami DSS over continued detention of Igboho aides despite meeting bail condition. 3 senior advocates of Nigeria have tackled the Attorney General of the Federations and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami SAN, and the Director General of the Department of State Services, Yusuf Bichi, over the continued detentions of 12 aides of Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Adeyemo, despite meeting all their bail conditions. The senior advocate Femi Falana, Ebun Olu Adegboruwa, and Ifedayo Adedipe said the DSS is inviting anarchy and lawlessness into the country by not obeying the order of a federal high court sitting in Abuja, which granted bail to the 12 detained aides of the separatist leader, also known as Sunday Igboho. They spoke in separate interview with the Punch over the weekend. According to the detainees lawyer, Pelumi Olajengbesi, the presiding judge, Justice Obiora Egwuatu, had signed the release order of all the 12 detainees when they fully met their bail conditions last week, including the provisions of 24 sureties. The detainees are Abdulateef Onolapo, Tajudeen Irinloye, Diekola Ademola Ayobami Donald, Uthman Adelabu, Olakunle Oluwapelumi, Ranchi Kozim Taiwo Tajudeen, Amudat Babatunde Eitamosi Ledike, Abidin Shitu Jamiu Oyetunji, and Bamidele Sunday. Detainees have spent over 60 days in DSS custody since they were arrested around 1 a.m. on July 1, 2021, when the secret police raided Igboho's Ibadan residents in a gangster style, killing 2 other associates of the activists in a gun duel. The 12 detainees had approached the court to seek their release. However, DSS lawyer Igboho Awo has kicked against the bail granted by Justice Egwatu on August 4, 2021 to 4 of the detainees Babatunde Shitu, Oyetunji and Sunday, claiming that they were heavily involved in the alleged offense of arms stockpiling and other criminal activities of their boss Igboho. Tó kó tó di pé wọ́n fi àwọn mẹ́jẹ̀ẹ̀jọ tí wọ́n fi sílẹ̀ lónìí ní òpin ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí ní àwọn agbẹjọ́rò yìí ti papọ̀ wọ́n sì jẹ́ àgbààgbà inú agbẹjọ́rò tá a mọ̀ sí senior advocate in Nigeria SAN ni wọ́n àwọn méjèèjì yìí tí a gbórúkọ wọn yìí ni wọ́n papọ̀ tí wọ́n jọ pé ṣe ìpèníjà fún DSS àti Anthony General tí a mọ̀ sí Malami àti Yusuf Bichi nípa tó ń ṣe tórúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́ Yusuf Bichi ìyẹn ọ̀gá àwọn DSS nípa ìtúnṣì fi sí ìgbèkùn àwọn méjèèjìlá tí wọ́n fi sígbèkùn ló fà á tí Fẹ́mi Fálànà Ẹ̀bùn Olú Adégoruwà àti Ìfẹ́dayọ̀ Adédípẹ̀ àwọn mẹ́tẹ̀ẹ̀ta yìí ọ̀gá àgbà adájọ́ ni wọ́n agbẹjọ́rò ni wọ́n pẹ̀lú ni wọ́n tí wọ́n fi ẹ̀sùn kan àwọn ìjọba pé intense yìí o ìfi ẹ̀tọ́ ọmọnìyàn gbolẹ̀ ló jẹ́ fún àwọn méjèèjìlá yìí àmọ́ aláyọ̀ láti sọ fún wa pé lẹ́nìí wọ́n fi 8 sílẹ̀ àwọn 4 tó wá kù ńkọ́ kí lẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wọn kí ló dé kí ló lè tó báyìí lórí ọ̀rọ̀ àwọn tí wọ́n kó ní ilé Sunday Igboho ṣé mọ̀ pé wọ́n pa 2 nínú wọn wọ́n pa àfáà bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni wọ́n pa àdògán àwọn ọkọ̀ akọ̀ròyìn wọ́n wá ṣe àbẹ̀wò sí ilé àwọn àfáà mo rò pé látijọ́ tí wọ́n ti pa àwọn méjèèjì ayé ò sọ nípa wọn rárá ń tà ń retí tẹ́lẹ̀ ni pé ká lé ẹlẹ́yọ́rọ́ jìnnà ká tó wá padà fàbọ̀ fún adìyẹ àwọn méjèèjìlá tí wọ́n sì wà láyé báwo ni wọ́n ṣe fẹ́ dá wọn lẹ̀ ká tó wá padà béèrè ṣé Yorùbá ní bí ọwọ́ ò bá tí gbèkúdà èèyàn kì í béèrè irú ikú tó pa bàbá ẹ̀ ìdí rèé tó fi jẹ́ pé ayé ò tí ì sọ pàápàá jùlọ àwọn tá à ń gbóhùn sáfẹ́fẹ́ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ wọn yìí àti ìfi bẹ́ẹ̀ sọ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ wọn àfẹ́ káwọn méjèèjì láì jáde náà ká tó wá bìjọba léèrè pé DSS àti gbọ́ pé pa àwọn ẹni yìí níbo lẹ gbòkú wọn sí òun là ń retí tẹ́lẹ̀ àmọ́ nísìnyí ẹnìkan lọ sí ilé ẹbí àwọn àáfàá àwọn ẹbí yìí sì sọ̀rọ̀ àánú ṣe mí omi bọ́ lójú mi ó wù mí kí gbogbo àná ká lọ fi ojú wa bẹ̀lẹ̀ jẹ́ ká lọ fi wo ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ nílé àwọn àáfàá ìkan nínú àwọn méjì tí wọ́n pa ní olóyè Sunday Igboho ó yá ẹ bá mi ká lọ.
ní báyìí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá gbogbo ọmọ káàárọ̀ oòjíire mo wà ní ọ̀nà ilé àáfàá tí wọ́n pa nílé bàbá wa Adéyẹmọ Sunday Igboho ọjọ́ sátọ̀dé ni mo pè tẹ́lẹ̀ àmọ́ ọjọ́ Jímọ̀ ni ó bá dé Èdùmàrè á ṣàánú wa so gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ káàárọ̀ oòjíire mo ti fẹ́ wọlé àáfàá báyìí tí wọ́n dá ẹ̀mí wọn ní ẹ̀gbodò àáfàá tí wọ́n pa nílé bàbá wa Sunday Adéyẹmọ Igboho ṣá tó salamu alaikum warahmatullahi mo kí ma ẹlẹ́ ma yes ma ẹ má bínú tó bá ṣókùkù ẹ máa rí gbogbo bí ó bá ṣe ń lọ mo wà ní ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn ìyàwó wọn báyìí. dùn pẹ̀lú iṣẹ́ takuntakun tí wọ́n ṣe torí wọ́n ní bàbá wa báwo ni ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn gan ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀.
ṣe lè rí ẹni tó mọ Sunday Igboho tó máa.
ẹ lálàá.
mo lálàá.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
wípé nǹkan báyìí nǹkan máa ṣẹlẹ̀ o.
gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá bí ọ̀nà tí àáfàá gbà kú ni mo fẹ́ kí gbogbo yín gbọ́ àlàyé lẹ́nu àwọn tí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ yẹn ṣẹlẹ̀ lójú wọn àtàwọn tó gbé information yẹn wá fún àáfàá tó fi di pé àáfàá lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ bàbá wa Adéyẹmọ Sunday Igboho látara ìtara wípé kí bàbá Sunday Igboho kó má bá ọjọ́ lọ́jọ́ lọ kó má bàa kú làáfàá ní káwọn du ẹ̀mí wọn láì mọ̀ wípé ó mà ṣe o àmọ́.
orúkọ mi ni àáfàá Owólabí Abdulgafar Owólabí Adétúnmọ̀bí láti
ìlú Ìbàfò.
so ìgbà tí mo lálàá yẹn arábìnrin ni mo mọ̀ tó close mọ́
ìyẹn mọ́mì wa yìí
tó ń tewé ọmọ ọ̀dọ̀ arábìnrin ni àáfàá ti máa wá ra nǹkan ibẹ̀ ni mo ti mọ̀ wọ́n so ìkan máa kó kúrò nílùú yìí pátápátá lẹ́yìn oṣù méjì
torí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ tó fẹ́ ṣẹlẹ̀
yìí ó máa ní agbára tó máa mú ẹ̀mí dá. Sunday Igboho bá lè kúrò nílùú tó bá máa fi padà dé gbogbo nǹkan
gbogbo àti lọlẹ̀.
báwo ni àáfàá ní
ó pọ̀ díẹ̀ ká má sọ nǹkan míì mo sì mọ̀ pé olórí ilé kọ́lọ̀ má pa olórí ilé ni ìgbà tó lórí ilé bá lọ kí ni nǹkan tó kù tán fẹ́ máa jẹ kí ni nǹkan. Ìyá mi ṣé ẹ ní ṣọ́ọ̀bù ní ṣọ́ọ̀bù kankan gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹ̀sìn Ìsìláàmù wa bàjẹ́ nítorí pé àwọn ìjọba wa wọ́n ti ṣe bó ṣe wù wọ́n àwa ò wá ní máa wò ó bó ṣe wù wá àwa ní láti dìde tí àwọn ìjọba wa bá ṣe bó ṣe wù wọ́n àwa ọ̀dọ́ ògo ọ̀la tí Ọlọ́run ò ní jẹ́ kán pa tí wọ́n ń gbìyànjú láti pa bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń wà wá yìí náà ẹ̀mí àwa gan ẹyọ kan àbí méjì ni ìjọba ò rẹ́rìn sí wa nítorí pé à ń jà fún ẹ̀tọ́ aráàlú inú wọn ò dùn bá ṣe ń gbìyànjú inú ìjọba ò dùn ẹ gbàgbé tẹ́fẹ́ tí ìjọba kan bá sọ fún yín pé inú òun dùn irọ́ ni o torí pé olè tán ń dọ́gbọ́n láti jà ọ̀nà rẹ̀ làwa fẹ́ dí ọ̀nà olè yẹn làwa fẹ́ dí dítú pé nǹkan táwa dẹ̀ ń sọ ni pé kí ẹni kí ìyá ẹni kí bàbá ẹni ká wà bákan náà kólíkálùkù máa gba ẹ̀tọ́ ẹ̀ ní ìlú òun là ń sọ fún ìjọba pé ìjọba ẹ fólíkálùkù lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ wọn náà kò dìgbà tẹ́ bá lò wá fún tọ́ọ̀gì kò dìgbà tẹ́ bá lò wá láti máa gbébọn láti máa para wa kẹ́ tó máa fún wa lówó ìyẹn gangan la fẹ́ kọ̀ àmọ́ Ọlọ́run á ṣàánú wa mo ní kí n kí yín sílé ni mà kí n dẹ̀ ṣe mí ìfẹ́ ẹ má jẹ́ kí n gbà yín ní àyè jù. Fétíà pẹ̀lẹ́ báwo ni ẹ kú lédè o báwo náà ṣe ń kí nílẹ̀ Yorùbá lédè náà ni.
ẹ kú lédè náà ni a kú àmọ́lé lọ́wọ́.
màmá mi ẹ má bínú máa béèrè question kékeré kan lọ́wọ́ yín ọmọ mélòó ni àáfàá fi sílẹ̀. àwọn mẹ́rin ló kù ìtumọ̀ rẹ̀ ni pé àwọn kan ti padà ní last year ó lágbára o Ọlọ́run á ṣàánú wa o àwọn mẹ́rin tó kù yẹn Ọlọ́run á bá mi dá ẹ̀mí wọn sí o nǹkan tí èmi ó kọ̀ ṣe báyìí ni pé àbí ẹ ní nǹkan tí ìyá mi ṣé ẹ ní nǹkan tí ẹ fẹ́ sọ ẹ jẹ́ kí gbogbo ayé ló ń wò yín bí mo ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí àwọn tí ò bá tí ì dé wọ́n á padà rí nígbà tá a bá ṣe tán mi inform anybody pé ní ni màá wá síbí Saturday ni mo lẹ́kálùkù fọkàn sí àwọn iṣẹ́ ọpọlọ ní nítorí pé ẹni bá sọ pé òun ó mẹ́ni ni ọgbọ́n ló gbà ìjọba ò bá wa rẹ́rìn bá a ṣe ń lọ náà ń wọ ẹ̀yìn ẹsẹ̀ wa so tẹ́ ọ bá ní nǹkan tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ sọ fún gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà fún ní gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá torí a fẹ́ jáde nínú Nàìjíríà dẹ̀ kọ̀ wọ́n láwọn ò ní gbà ká jáde lára wọn nítorí pé ẹrú tí wọ́n fi ìran bàbá wa ṣe ó ti dùn mọ́ wọn lẹ́nu a sì mọ ohun tó ń ṣàwọn lórí wa náà tó jẹ́lẹ̀ Yorùbá bóyá ọmọ ọkọ ni wọ́n bóyá ọmọ àlè ni Ọlọ́run ọba ló lè dájọ́ àárín yẹn èmi kọ́ ni màá sọ yẹn torí pé ibi tágbà bá wà àgbà kì í wà lọ́jà kórí ọmọ tuntun wọ́ àmọ́ orí ọmọ tuntun lẹ̀ Yorùbá ó ti sọrí kọ́ o kò sí ẹyẹ pé wọ́ rárá so ó ti fi hàn wípé ó ti fi hàn gbangba fún wa pé àwọn tó ń ṣe olórí fún wa nílẹ̀ Yorùbá gan mi rò pé ẹ má jẹ́ n sọ nǹkan tí ò dáa àmọ́ kì í ṣe pé nǹkan tí ò dáa ìwà tó ń wù náà ti jẹ́ kí ó yí àwa ọmọdé pé Ọlọ́run ọba ṣàánú wa ní dájọ́ fún wọn nítorí pé wọ́n ní kí àfọwọ́ àgbà wo àgbà àmọ́ kágbà náà gbìyànjú láti hùwà bí àgbà dáadáa kán yé hùwà bí àgbà àyà kò yẹ kó jẹ́ pé àwọn tó jó lórí wa tá à ń pè ní kábíyèsí máa tún lọ fi wá mu fanta níbi wedding Buhari pẹ̀lú adúrú nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ nílùú wọ́n dẹ̀ tún kágbádá sọ́rùn wọ́n tún lo private jet wọ́n tún lọ mu fanta ńbẹ̀ yẹn 800 private jet ní Buhari rà láì kí ẹ̀ pé àwọn ń gbẹ̀mí àwọn èèyàn nílùú Ọlọ́run á ṣàánú wa o tó irin àbí ṣó ní nǹkan tí màmá fẹ́ sọ kò sí nǹkan tẹ́ fẹ́ sọ ẹ fi gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ́lọ́run lọ́wọ́ àmọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe wá jẹ́ ìyá wa ń lé báwo lẹ ṣe fẹ́ máa kóòpù báyìí ìgbà tí ò ti sí bàbá wa mo kàn fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ yanjú ẹ̀ díẹ̀ mọ ibi téèyàn bá mọ̀ lèèyàn ń ṣe mọ́ àmọ́ ibi tí mo gbọ́ information ẹ̀ ní tí mo gbé mi so tí ó bá ní nǹkan tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ sọ bóyá kẹjọ gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá o bóyá tọ́rọ̀ yìí bá yanjú o nǹkan báyìí kán rántí yín o àbí nǹkan o torí àwọn ọmọ rẹ̀ obìnrin tó ṣe gọlọtọ̀ báyìí ó yá ọmọ yín ẹ fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ọmọ yín.
Mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ọmọ yìí.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Wọ́n ti mú ní Unilag.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Òun gan sọ pé wọ́n ti ní káwọn wá sanwó.
Ní Unilag.
Ní Unilag. Kò dẹ̀ tí ì sí owó kankan lẹ̀ báyìí.
Ìyẹn Fétíà ọmọ àfáà Fàtáì tí wọ́n pa nílé bàbá wa.
Kódà ó tún pè mí lónìí gan pé kò sí nǹkan kan tóun fẹ́ jẹ mọ́. Lónìí ló pè pé kò sí nǹkan kan mọ́ tóun fẹ́ jẹ kò sówó.
Ẹ kò yé so ọmọ yín sọ yín pé kò tiẹ̀ sí nǹkan tí nìyẹn ní skul tó òun wà. Ọlọ́run á ṣàánú wa o. Ilé bàbá wa àfáà Fàtáì tí wọ́n pa nílé bàbá wa Sunday Igboho ni èmi Saheed Ire tí mo wà ní èní gẹ́gẹ́ bí àdéhùn tí mo ṣe fún yín pé mò ń lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ Ọlọ́run á ṣàánú wa. Tó màmá mo ní kí n ṣe wá kí yín lénìí níná pé kí n kọ́kọ́ mọlé tó bá ní ìgbìyànjú àbí nǹkan táwọn ọmọ Yorùbá fẹ́ ṣe fún yín wàláì màá gbìyànjú láti jẹ́ kí ó kàn yín lára tó bá ní ẹni tó fẹ́ dìde lórí ọ̀rọ̀ yín pé ilé àfa o mo dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé tí bàbá Sunday Igboho bá dé kò ní wò yín níran mo wá fi rẹ́kọ̀dù ní ṣe àkọọ́lẹ̀ ìrántí pé kọ́ má gbàgbé bí o lóòótọ́ ọ̀nà jìn láti Ìbàdàn sí ìlú bolawa yìí Ìbàfò so ọ̀nà jìn àmọ́ mo mọ̀ pé Ọlọ́run ọba kò ní gbàgbé wa o kò dẹ̀ ní gbàgbé yín torí pé wọ́n ní kéèyàn géra rẹ̀ léèkánná kó tó fi gé ọmọ ẹnìkejì mo máa ń sọ kíní kan màá ní mo mọyì ìyá mo mọyì ẹ̀yin obìnrin gan ìdí ni pé mi ò níyà ìyá mi ti kú láti 1998 August 30 àìwá ní ìyá yẹn àwọn ìyá wa dìde sí mi wọn ò jẹ́ kí n mọ̀ bẹ̀ torí èèyàn wọn ni ìyẹn ò lè hard but ọlápẹ́ ẹ̀yin ń bẹ níbi ẹ̀yin ò sí nítòsí àfáà ò bá wọn ṣàgídétọ̀ àfáà ò bá wọn jagun kò bá wọn wọ gbósò wọn ọmọ dáadáa bọ́tà dùgán èèyàn tímọ́tímọ́ bàbá wa Sunday Igboho ni but àfáà náà ẹ̀gbọ́n bàbá wa Sunday Igboho ni so gẹ́gẹ́ ṣe gẹ́gẹ́ Ọlọ́run á ṣàánú wa. Màmá mi ẹ bá mi fọwọ́ ba kíní kékeré ẹ má bínú ó kéré lóòótọ́ àmọ́ ibi méjì ló yẹ kí n lọ báyìí àmọ́ màá yọ ibì kan kú lóòótọ́ mo mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ fi ibì kejì yẹn sí fún ara mi ni àmọ́ pẹ̀lú nǹkan tó wà ńlẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ọmọ yín tẹ́ sọ yìí pé nǹkan ṣe yẹ kí n ṣe báyìí Fétíà Ọlọ́run ò ní fi yín lẹ̀ mo sì wá yọjú sí yín ni màá tún padà yọjú sí yín lọ́jọ́ tọ́lọ́run bá sọ yìí pé kó ṣe díẹ̀ sẹ́mi náà lọ́wọ́ mi ò ní sọ pé kẹ́ ẹ fi ọkàn balẹ̀ pé gbogbo Yorùbá máa gbé bùkátà yín àmọ́ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá máa ṣe díẹ̀ wọ́n máa ṣe díẹ̀ nínú ẹ̀ inshallah mi ìfẹ́ kí ẹ mọ̀ dídé mo ṣe wá bí àwọn èèyàn ti lè máa sọ ládùúgbò pé ṣèbọ́pẹ́ ń kú fúnlẹ̀ Yorùbá báyìí kí ni wọ́n wá ṣe àwọn èèyàn wọ́n bàjẹ́ o àwọn èèyàn ya wèrè ní ẹ̀dá especially Yorùbá so mi ìwà fẹ́ kàn fi ẹnu àtẹ́ lù wá nílẹ̀ Yorùbá nítorí pé àkíṣe ẹni ẹ̀tẹ́ kílẹ̀ bàbá wa náà dá là ń jà fún ta ló mẹ́ni tí kú kàn lọ́la so ẹni tó bá sọ pé òun yọ̀ yín Ọlọ́run náà bá fi tiẹ̀ Ọlọ́run bá fi tiẹ̀ kàn bẹ́ẹ̀ ni inshallah so ẹ jẹ́ kí n tún ṣe báyìí fún mo fẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ kí n kúkú dá sí méjì mi ò ní lọ́dọ̀ ẹni yẹn mọ́ mi ò ní lọ ọ̀dọ̀ ẹni yẹn mọ́ màá fi tiwọn sí ọjọ́ mi mo mọ̀ wọ́n máa sọ fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá gan kí máa débì kan ni mo fẹ́ try láti gba information lórí driver yẹn lórí driver tó wa bàbá Sunday Igboho lọ kí n tiẹ̀ ṣe ẹ́ lọ́wọ́ èèyàn wọn náà ó wù mí bẹ́ẹ̀ àmọ́ kò ní jẹ́ ìnímọ́ Fétíà màmá ẹ̀yin náà ni màá ẹ bá wa gbà ẹ bá wa mú dá ẹ má bínú.
tó ẹ mà káàbọ̀ padà àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ bí àfáà olẹ́gbọ́ yìí tí wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ kí a rin àrùn fẹsẹ̀ sùn ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn wọ́n já mọ́ wọn lẹ́nu wọn sọ́délẹ̀ ìntàfà àṣedélé olóyè Igboho ìfẹ́ olóyè Ìgbòho lórí ìfẹ́ ẹ̀ ló ní ṣẹ́nìkan ló lálàá tẹ́nì yìí sọ fún pé àlá tí mo lá sólóyè rèé o aburú kan ó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí i láàrin èní síjọ́ mẹ́ta àfi ká mọ báwo laburú yìí ṣe lè kúrò ló jẹ́ káàfà gbéra lẹ́yìn táìmọye àdúrà ti lọ ló jẹ́ káàfà ìgbéra kó lọ sílé olóyè Ìgbòho láti lọ ṣe àwọn àdúrà fún un tó yanilẹ́nu ni pé orí àdúrà yìí gan ló wà tí àwọn DSS ti gbẹ̀mí lẹ́nu rẹ̀ o DSS sì ń parọ́ wípé àáfà àti àdògán àwọn jọ ní gun duel ìyẹn ni pé wọ́n jọ fi ìbọn wọ́n jọ fi jagbà síra wọn pé bí àwọn àáfà àti àdògán ṣe ń yìnbọn máwọn bẹ́ẹ̀ náà làwọn yin tàwọn padà ìdí rèé tí ọwọ́ fi tó àáfà àti àdògán táwọn fi pa wọ́n ṣùgbọ́n àṣírí ní tó sọ gangan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ gan ni gbogbo wa ti gbọ́ yìí wípé irọ́ tó tóbi tó jìnnà sóòótọ́ ni o orí nọ́fìlà orí ìrun òun làáfà wà kó tó di pa àwọn DSS wọ́n yìnbọn pa ó Elédùmarè ọba òkè kó bá wa rọ àáfà lójú iwájú tó fi sílẹ̀ o kílédùn ọba òkè ó jẹ́ ó dáa iwájú tó dojúkọ kílédùn ọba òkè ó dáa bákan náà ní pẹ́yìn tó fi sílẹ̀ kílédùn àmá bàjẹ́ ọ̀gágun ojú omi kan tó ti fẹ̀yìntì tí orúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́ Kúnlé Ọláwùnmí wọ́n pè ní orí ṣánẹ́ẹ̀lì station kan wọ́n pè pé kó wá sọ̀rọ̀ lórí kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ insecurity tó ń lọ ní Nàìjíríà arákùnrin ìsọ̀ntójú ẹ̀ tó ó sọ̀ntójú ẹ̀ rí orúkọ ẹ̀ jẹ́ kọmọdọ Kúnlé Ọláwùnmí látara tó mà sọ yìí wọ́n mà ti ní dandan àfi káwọn declare wọ́n ti declare wanted o bíi ti Ìgbòho wọ́n ní kó wá yọjú sí ọgbà DSS wọ́n ní kó mú international passport ẹ̀ kó máa mú bọ̀ wọ́n fẹ́ gbé ti sátìmọ́lé kí lárákùnrin yìí sọ ohun mi ká gbọ́ kí ló sọ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò tó mẹ́hẹ nílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí mò ń bọ̀.
Past 35 years, it has always been the case. Our problem is religion and social-cultural. I mean, people will expect me to come here and start talking about kinetics, about operation and so on. I've been an operational commander all my life. I've commanded warships, I've commanded troops, I've commanded men outside Nigeria and so on. But I'm not going to come to your station to discuss kinetics. The problem is not kinetics. In 2017, 2016, I'm always a member of the Security and Intelligence Brief at the Defense Headquarters. I told them, General Lauren Shakin then, that the challenge we have in this country cannot be solved the same way we solved the problem of Niger Delta. The Niger Delta problem was solved during Yaradua time, basically by me. And I told them that we can't use that same template for Boko Haram. I told General Lauren Shakin to look at the center of gravity of the problem. And we all came together. I was made a member of the committee, including Atahiru that just died was a member of that committee in 2016, 2017. And we came to a conclusion after several arguments. And the arguments were three. To identify the center of gravity of the problem, one group said it is the fighters, the Boko Haram fighters are the center of gravity, so we should go after them. Another group said the center of gravity of Boko Haram is Abubakar Shekau. So if we go after Abubakar Shekau, then the problem of Boko Haram will be solved. I took exception to the group. I said that is not the center of gravity of the problem of Boko Haram insurgency that we were having between that 2012 and 2017. And General Shakin asked me, allow me, why are you giving problem? What is the problem? Give us the answer. And I told General Shakin that if I tell you the answer, you're not going to be able to solve the problem. He said, what is the problem? I said, the center of gravity of Boko Haram and insurgency in Nigeria are the sponsors of that program. It it was beyond us. Because the job we need to do is kinetics. Fight, destroy places, resolve issues. Yep. But we cannot resolve issue of sponsors of Boko Haram that were in Buhari's government, that we know them.
When you say we, who?
I was in the military intelligence. Okay. And the defense headquarters staff that I work with, they know. And that was why we couldn't pursue that aspect that could have resolved that problem. Because you need to arrest people. And recently, 400 people were gathered as sponsors of Boko Haram. Why is it that Buhari government has refused to try them?
So the government knows sponsors of Boko Haram?
Of course, it's in the news. In April this year, the government said they have arrested 400 Bureau de Change related, people that were sponsoring Boko Haram. They told us. And Abu Dhabi also helped us to arrest few Nigerians, tried them, we know them. Why can't this government, if not that they are partisan and they are actually part of the charade that is going on, why can't they bring those people out for trial?
So the Bureau de Change operators on the one hand, but you particularly said people in government. Are those part of the Bureau de Change, or those people that you say are in government are still there, government is aware, and government is condoning them?
The people I mentioned that are in government are not these ones they just arrested. You remember this Boko Haram issue started since 2012. Yeah. And I was in the military intelligence that time. We arrested those people. It is my organization that actually conducts interrogation and interview. And they mention names. I mean, I can't come on the air and start mentioning names of people that are presently in government now that I know.
Presently in government.
That the boys that we arrested mentioned. Some of them are governors now. Some of them are in the Senate. Some of them are in Aso Rock. Why should a government try to cause... This is a fact. I say you want me to start mentioning names of people in this government that we have interrogated. I was a member of an interrogation team, and I've interrogated a very high-ranking member of this government in 2007, 2008 on issue of Boko Haram. I interrogated him. He's in this government right now. And what was the issue? Boko Haram. And this senior officer was actually let go because he was found culpable. But right now he's in the government. You see, we must say the truth, because if you don't, this country is going down the precipice. We have been set back more than 60 years right now. We've gone back to the time before 1966 now. And whoever is coming back to repair this country has a lot of work to do. This country has never been polarized, so we cannot run away from it. We have never been this much polarized. I'm a federal person. My mind is federal. My brain is federal. My loyalty is federal. I do things for the federal government. So I cannot come here and try to be sentimental. No, I'm a federal person.
So will your life be at risk now that they're hearing you?
I don't care. I don't care. And my colleagues, they know me. Those people that listen to me, they know me. I don't care. The issue is that this country is bigger than individual. That is the issue. This country is bigger than individuals. Buhari will come and go. Eliminating me or killing me will not solve the problem and will not add value. But he will come and go. And somebody must come and repair the damage to the psyche of this society, the damage to the polarization, to the nepotism that I've never seen in my life. I work with all these presidents. This is the worst situation I've found myself. And believe me, internet does not forget. I was part of the people that helped to bring Buhari to government. because I believe in him.
Have you worked with the government after that?
After
you helped bring the government?
Oh, of course, I worked with him. We brought him in 2015, and I work as the Deputy Director of Defense Administration. And we have a lot of hope in him. And we actually are ready to do anything for him. What he has turned out over the years is shocking to us. I was in Harvard in 2014, in December, when the Department of State Services and CIA and others were contemplating about Buhari and other aspirants. I know what we did to convince the American government that the only person that can come and put this country right is Buhari. That was before the Lagos, APC, before the truce within.
Right.
And that was how Tinubu came in. We know what we did, but what he has done in the past 6 years is shocking. It's unprecedented. And it should not be allowed to be swept under the carpet because the damage to the psyche of this country is monumental.
Ẹ káàbọ̀ padà nítorí ń tárákùnrin sọ yìí wọ́n ní kó mórí wá kó fọrùn lẹ̀ ń tí mo rí nísìn ni pé ní Nàìjíríà o tó bá fẹ́ kí wọ́n declare wanted ṣàpànù mọ́ má sọ̀rọ̀ mọ́ wọn ò fẹ́ mọ pòwó lo àwọn ò fẹ́ mọ báwo ló ṣe jẹ́ ẹni yìí ti jagun fẹ̀yìntì fúnlẹ̀ Nàìjíríà o ọwọ́ pósò dodo ń torí bíi ti tọ́tọ́mù wọn lóhun náà wọ́n ti declare ká lọ́tọ́mù ò jẹ́ gọ́fúnà ni wọn bá ní kóhun náà mórí wá kó fọrùn lẹ́ni. tó oníyanṣẹ́ ọlọ́kàṣe o gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ bá mi fìfẹ́ jẹ tèmi gbogbo yín náà ni mo kí pẹ́ ṣeun. a ti lọ òkun a ti lọ ọ̀tà ọkọ̀ wa ti forí lébùté o mo fàsìkò yìí kí gbogbo yín pé ojú tẹ́ fi ń wò mí ò ní fọ́ etí tẹ́ sì fi ń gbọ́ mi etí náà ò ní dì. ẹ tún jẹ́ ká pàdé nígbà míì ẹ jẹ́ kí n fàsìkò yìí sọ fún wa pé gbogbo ojú tó ń wò mí pátápátá ní inú bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ tí ẹ ti subscribe sí channel yìí ẹ ṣe wo bí tí wọ́n kọ subscribe sí kẹ́ bá mi tẹ̀. bákan náà ni pé ẹ̀yin tí ó jẹ́ pé ẹ ṣì wà nínú gbàgede ìmọ̀ channel ẹ lọ wò ó a ti yọ gbogbo videos tó wà ń bẹ̀ dànù kódà a ti change orúkọ ẹ̀ kúrò ní gbàgede ìmọ̀ lágbára Ọlọ́run ẹ ní rí channel yẹn mọ́ rárá torí a ti delete ẹ̀ báyìí. ẹ máa bọ̀ ẹ wá darapọ̀ mọ́ wa nínú gbàgede nínú bàbá gbàgede live bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ TV BGI ibẹ̀dẹ̀ la wà nísìn lágbára Ọlọ́run nínú September ta fẹ́ mú yìí pẹ̀lú ògo Olódùmarè ẹ máa wo oríṣiríṣi programs ìròyìn máa wà ńbẹ̀ ìròyìn òyìnbó ìròyìn Yorùbá a máa sọ sport news a máa gbé oríṣiríṣi ètò lórí ìlera lórí ìwòsàn láti ilé ìwòsàn wa àtoríṣiríṣi bẹ́ẹ̀ la fẹ́ máa gbé wá ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ ti subscribe sórí gbàgede ìmọ̀ program yìí ní kọ́kọ́ lẹ́ máa wo ẹ sì wo oríṣiríṣi tẹ́ jàjẹ̀gbádùn tẹ́yìn náà bá wo studio wa ẹ rí pa àti lọ sí next level kékeré lẹ́ ń wò yìí a sì ní tó pọ̀ nínú kúlà fún yín tó oníyanṣẹ́ ọlọ́kàṣe gbẹ̀yìn tẹ́ jẹ́ tèmi ẹ ṣeun ẹ jẹ́ ká tó pàdé èmi náà ni ọmọ bàbá tíṣà lábẹ́kúta aláwìyé Adébáyọ̀ Sàbúrì èmi bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ ló ń fàsìkò yìí sọ fún wa pé láyọ̀.